Hello and welcome to the Summer of Best Ball with yours truly, Justin Herzig. It is August 16th, 24 days away from the start of the NFL season. We are in the thick of things. Continuing on throughout the summer, I'll be hosting Underdog Best Ball streams, bringing on some special guests every Tuesday, Thursday, live on the ETR channel, hosted in partnership with the Owners Club, launching soon a new way to play best ball. Also, want to give a heads up, let people know that everyone who signs up for the ETR Draft Kit Pro will still get that free $10 on Underdog. Comes with best ball rankings, content, season-long Dynasty coverage, everything you need. And if you already have an Underdog account, you can still get that free $10, no strings attached. Once you get the Draft Kit Pro, head over to the Underdog Content Hub. ETR has a link to claim that $10. And if you're new to Underdog, promo code ETR will get you that $100 deposit bonus. And now, with us this afternoon, DFS bro, turned cash game grinder, turned DFS bro, turned best ball bro, even having sweated out a top 10 finish in last year's BBM1. You know him as the funniest man in fantasy football, Mr. Peter Overzet. How are we doing today?
I'm doing good. Today I am Petey Potatoes, as the chat has stumbled upon, and it's truly an honor to draft with the winner of Best Ball Mania 1. And I'll never forget it, Justin. The ETR social media team will not let me forget that you won Best Ball Mania 1.
And it's live. I mean, I think that's really important too. It has been the YouTube team, the social media team at ETR has done wonders with these. Props to those thumbnails and the great pictures. And hey, we don't need my face in the thumbnail. You just put a little live on there. You put a best ball board. You bring on the guest. I'm really behind the scenes. I think my name doesn't even show up. Like, we're good.
There you go. There you go. No, I'm very excited. I've caught a couple of these streams this year. I still have bookmarked the Silva one. I heard that he didn't know how to play Two Truths and a Lie, which sounds about right. But I am ready to redeem that show segment idea today for you guys.
I love it. Look at all these puns. Potatoes, Peter Toes, sack of potatoes. God, it just keeps going on. Absolutely love it. Who is this guy? I don't know, but he has the right amount of sleeves on. I've got too many sleeves on for summer, and this is summer of best ball, so we're having fun. Okay. First off, how was your weekend? I know did you go to the wedding with Zakari? And I was at the Fantasy Football Expo. What's going on?
Yeah, I was. Our mutual friend, Mike Zakarian, you guys know him maybe from Team Hold. He got married this weekend up in Portland, Maine. So I was up there. It was a crazy weekend where it was like, I went to Mike's. I was in the wedding. If I wasn't in Mike's wedding and he didn't have that, I probably would have been at Davis's wedding. And then if Davis didn't have his wedding, I would have loved to have joined all of you guys at the expo. So apparently everything I would have liked to do in August all happened on the same weekend.
Talk to me about this Guster thing. I grew up in my high school poker game listening to a bunch of Guster. Next thing I know, I see Zakarian and his now wife on stage with Guster.
Yeah, so it just so happened that Guster they were hosting kind of like their own mini festival there at Thompson's Point. And apparently like the venue was directly adjacent to where Mike and Kelsey were getting married. And Mike's a big Guster fan. And I guess the event coordinator somehow kind of got looped in with the Guster tour manager, let him know. And I think they just thought they were going to maybe get to like go backstage and wave during the concert or something, but they actually pulled them on stage. He improvised a song for Kelsey and Mike. You can find it on his Twitter account. But yeah, pretty surreal moment for him. Everyone's like, where did Mike and Kelsey go? We're all looking around at the wedding. It's like, oh, they're on stage across the street with Guster right now.
That's ridiculous. It was Leap Day about a month before COVID. My wife and I went to a Guster show. And yeah, they literally started doing these improv music shows where they just make up shows. And like so that day, they made a Leap Day song. And then to see Zakarian gets a song made up for him about wedding. That is pretty cool. Fun. And yeah, so me personally, I was at the Fantasy Football Expo, got to meet a ton of people. We had a best ball panel there. A lot of kind of interesting how still there's so much of the old school fantasy football world that either doesn't do best ball, they're just getting introduced to it this year. It was fun to talk about it and kind of learn through what's where this larger industry looks at. So
yeah, it is always interesting too. I feel like we bounce around, in all the different circles. Like I like dabbling in some Dynasty, obviously DFS, best ball, the high stakes season long, but there are still those kind of like sub communities who, haven't ventured over into the best ball streets. But I don't know. I don't know. I assume you're as bullish as I am on best ball, but it does really seem like it just has still a massive untapped ceiling of, I've just seen so many people who hadn't even played best ball heading into this year who are now absolutely obsessed. And I feel like that doesn't quite happen as much with some of the other formats where you just go from 0 to 60 with best ball so quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is so addicting. And so I was actually talking to Jeremy Levine about this, Underdog's not CEO, president, I guess, president, chairman, and then who started draft back in the day. And we were talking about kind of the future of best ball. And my concern to some degree is like this form of automation that may come into this space. And, what we saw with the DFS where 7 years ago, I loved DFS. It was so much fun. That fun has kind of been a little removed in some parts of the DFS. And I think like the tools and automation aspects have played some role. I do think like there's a lot of benefits around the augmentation of what the tools are doing to help build up best ball. And there's, a couple different great sites out there that have done some great stuff around this. So I'm bullish. I still think there's so much room to go, but yeah, it'll be interesting how we can kind of keep the fun in best ball.
For sure. Yeah. And I was thinking about that the other day relative to DFS too. And I still think that element of having an actual live dynamic draft, in a way, it'd be like if DFS, everyone had to make their lineups in the same 20-minute window. Like then it would maybe get really interesting again, where yes, I do think the tools are coming and the field is getting sharper. That's natural, but I still think it won't get quite to the point DFS is just with that live dynamic that makes it so unique.
Yeah, completely hear you. Okay. Well, we are here to do a draft, so I'm going to jump in a draft now. Come join us while we're doing this. Let's play Chad's favorite game. Pete, give him 2 truths and a lie.
All right, 2 truths and a lie. I spent all evening crafting these, writing them with a sleight of hand that would not allow you to get a read. I didn't want anyone to be able to go like full SAT test on me where just the way I wrote the question would indicate it was a lie. So let's see if you can get these from the top. Isaiah Pacheco is not this year's Eli Mitchell because that's an uninspired reference. He's 2020's James Robinson. That's the first one. Number 2, Gabriel Davis, not the one who just commented in the chat, will outscore Keenan Allen this year. Number 3, the BBM3 winning team has not been drafted yet. These are my personal beliefs. 2 of them are truths. One of them is a lie. Hopefully that's hard.
I like it. Okay. Because yeah, I'm just hearing this now for the first time. So we have Elijah Mitchell is the James Robinson.
No, Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah,
Isaiah
Pacheco
I threw you off the scent
is the
there.
James Robinson, not the Elijah Mitchell. Okay.
Yes.
We have the Gabe Davis is going to outscore Keenan Allen. Obviously, we're going to take CMC. We're good with CMC.
Yeah. Did we get the Influencer 101? This is what happens when Pete comes on your show.
You bring us together, and I got you. All right, and number 3 is that number 30 on number 3?
The BBM3 winning team has not been drafted yet.
Okay, a lot of people straight out of the gate saying 3 is the lie. So we're getting a few. So we got first one's a lie. We got a lot that 3 are the lie. 3 is the lie. 3 Pacheco. 1, 2, but a lot of people are thinking that you're on the Gabe Davis over Keenan Allen train, but majority's thinking that number 3 is the lie. What do you got for us? Which one's the lie?
So I would have hoped, true super fans who had seen my Ronald Jones bags to this date would know that I wouldn't be able to have that take about Isaiah Pacheco. I think it would just absolutely ruin me. So that is my personal lie. I do believe Gabriel Davis will outscore Keenan Allen. And I also believe the winning BBM3 team has not been drafted yet.
There you go. All right. So Kyle, straight on, head on, nailed it. And then earlier in the stream too, we had someone was trying to get us to pour some out for the Rojo shares. Let's see if I can find that as well. There we go. Star Kindler as well. Yeah, I'm happy that I was not on the Rojo train this summer. I had to veer away from the ship chasing and all that Rojo love. But what's your thought? What's the kind of sentiment then there and how you feeling now?
Well, my first thought is my closing line value on Ronald Jones exposures is going to be disastrous. I still am skeptical. I'm definitely worried. I'm very much worried. I'm still skeptical that he's actually going to get cut. I still think he brings something to that running back room that they don't have in just a pure explosive runner. And that's what's so interesting to me about the Pacheco stuff is, Jerick McKinnon, I think, is still their best pass catcher and their best third down guy. And I think Ronald Jones is their most explosive rusher. And so then to me, it's like where does Pacheco kind of fill in for all of this? Is he like just the backstop to CH not being good, where he would kind of take over CH, and then wondering where are the roles potentially for McKinnon and Rojo? But I've definitely started to sprinkle in Pacheco stuff now. He just feels to me like a guy who's going to be in the 11th or 12th round here in about a week.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting. So I agree with you 100% on the Jerick McKinnon. I think he honestly has the most secure role in that offense where, his upside's likely capped, but like he's probably going to be that third down back. Who's going to be the actual, between the 20s, the high value situations, first, second down. Like I think CH has the direct path to it. And the decision is if CH goes down, who takes that? And I think Kansas City wants that to be Pacheco. I think his upside from just what they're seeing and everything there in the practices and what they're trying to kind of build him up for, where we've seen him playing in the games, like they want him to have that role. I'm just not sure how much Rojo really adds, as additional or complementary value to whatever is already there. If they keep 4 RBs, he's there. If they only keep 3, I just don't see a situation where they're like building Pacheco up, giving him these opportunities, and then say, hey, we're going to put you on the practice squad and risk like what happens on the practice, with him being, grabbed by another team, however that works and such. It's interesting, but I completely agree with you. I think he is a fantastic BBM pick and is someone who I'm fine reaching right now because for the first 50% of drafts, he was not being drafted at all. So even if you're overpaying right now for the people who were getting him for that week or two in the 17th, 18th, you're still having a uniqueness edge on 50% of the field.
For sure. And can I just point why when I draft, the red badge brigade comes out, and when you draft, it's all badgeless bros. How are you so lucky? Because my Monday morning stream drafts are absolutely miserable these days. This is like, how good do you run? Because I can't do a draft during the day without at least 16 badge bros in there. And trust me, the math checks out.
So the trick is you got to you bait them a little. You get them to enter too early and then you snipe in, you sneak in there. Now, to be honest, usually chat is very heavy into this. But when they saw that a sack of potatoes was drafted today, they jumped in.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Derek K in the chat says there was 4 badges in the overflow. So you successfully boxed them out. Sometimes you have to outwit the badge bros here. Look at this. See, do you know, I have never pulled up the draft board and seen all yellow. I mean, look at how gorgeous this is. You're telling me we get Mark Andrews in our choice of one of these wide receivers? I mean, God bless you.
I mean, is there even choices here? Are you willing to go over ADP for a different wide receiver? What do you think?
I literally would be fine with any of the top 4 wide receivers there. I would probably take Tyreek Hill just because he doesn't normally fall to the 2-3 turn these days, but I'm good with any of them.
Yeah, no, I think in general, a CMC, Mark Andrews, Tyreek Hill is a probably semi-unique and very strong start.
Yeah, and I have so much T. Higgins. T. Higgins, I believe now is my highest rostered guy here in Best Ball Mania 3. And so I've actually been trying to balance that out a little bit with some more Tyreek Hill. I've even been reaching a little bit for DJ Moore, just trying to kind of balance some of those wide receiver pairings that I have with those CMC and JT teams.
Sometimes what I'll do is I'll keep one of these as our exposure between mine, yours, Pat Carrane, Davis Maddock, maybe one other, just so that I can see. And I guess what my 6% Higgins is probably dragging it down a little, that overall. And it's not that I don't like him. I think a lot of times I just have been drafting the Leonard Fournette, the various wide receivers. I mean, at one point it was Saquon Barkley in that area. It was Aaron Jones, and
yeah. And that happened to me too, where I'm like, I was hammering Higgins so much early, and now I have been kind of I'm super heavy on Rachaad White, so I have been balancing that out with a little bit more Fournette at the 2-3 turn. I also always have in my head, there's just so many CMC Fournette teams I've seen posted over the summer too, so I'm always kind of a little gun shy on that pairing. But yeah, I mean, that 2-3 turn, that entire pocket there, like mid-second to me, just always feels kind of gross. But then that 2-3 turn, I generally always like my options there if you're at the front side of the board.
Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of Rachaad White, have you talked to your buddy Patrick? How's he doing with Tampa? What that looks like?
You know what? Davis and I both sent him text messages. The only way I can tell if I got a message, because I don't have an iPhone, is I have to pull up my iPad or my laptop where I have iMessages on it. I said, so stoked for you, dude. That's awesome. And he replied, appreciate it. So Patrick Laird has confirmed that he is alive and on the Bucks.
Good. Yeah, no, I had a good tweet queued up. I may have to put this out right now. I needed to wait for the right time. Let me get
tweeting live on air. This is unheard of.
I got to think about where I queued it up. I think I queued it up on computer here. Let's go to my unsent tweets. Here it is. People, if you want to look, just a great tweet. It's a fantastic tweet I'm about to put out. Let's do a little, we'll screen share the tweet as you can see it in live. It is just so relevant, so topical. It's on brand for my ones that went a little viral last year. The people not drafting Rachaad White because of Patrick Laird were the same people not drafting Leonard Fournette because of Giovanni Bernard.
Wow. I mean, that how many drafts do you have in here? My God, look at how the Twitter sausage gets made for Herzig. You really sleep on those, don't you?
You know, I probably come up with around 3 to 5, and then you just got to figure out the timing. Sometimes you just like, you plug in that GIF and you're like, this is going to work at some point, but now's not the right time.
I used to leave some tweets in the drafts, and then I just decided I'd start letting them rip. They're normally drunk tweets. Drunk tweets end up in the drafts, but now I just don't have the filter, so you just let it rip.
That's good. The best part is I think my other ones might have showed up on screen for like a second. So if somebody wants to go back, you can steal those and front run me on those. That'll work well.
Front run the tweets.
But reality. Okay, so with the Patrick Laird, like great for him. Love it. I'm in Tampa, so even like that, even more. But I do think it's interesting with this running back situation. Like, what does that actually inform us? Like, is that something we should actually react to with regards to Rachaad White? Is Gio perhaps potentially dust? Like, they're not keeping 5 run. I mean, Leonard Fournette, Giovanni Bernard, Keyshawn Vaughn, Rachaad White, and then Patrick Laird. They're not going to keep all 5 of those. So either the Patrick Laird is to test something and come in and see what he can do, or we're getting rid of Gio. I don't know.
Well, that's what, and the other thing too of those guys, and I actually don't know. I mean, I know Gio at this stage of his career probably isn't playing special teams. I'm not sure if Keyshawn Vaughn would probably, but I mean, that would be the thing that would give Laird a leg up on Gio. If Gio's banged up and they're like, hey, Laird can give us that in the pass game, plus the special teams role, I could see that happen. It did seem like they just brought him in right now as insurance over the Gio banged up thing, but I do agree with you. It's like they're only going to roll into camp with 4 of these guys. And I mean, if you look at the profiles of all of them, right, they're pass catchers. I mean, that has to signal something to us. And it does make Fournette feel a little dicier to me because we are hanging our hat on all those high value touches. And if he is getting squeezed slightly more in the pass game, I do think that's notable. Although you could also argue that's baked in to his 2-3 ADP right now in the same way it is for a guy like Joe Mixon.
Yeah. And I mean, all right, let's take a look. So we have a strong tight end. We don't need to go for Waller. QB wise, I mean, Lamar probably feels right with the Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Any disagreement? And then what are you thinking for the other?
I like Lamar a lot. And then I would be down for Godwin or Juju.
I like the Godwin for the Christian McCaffrey here. And I still think Godwin is undervalued. Even though my average ADP on him is 60.5, he's 56. I still think it's a strong value with him, with the injury likely not being nearly as bad as we initially thought it could be.
Yeah, I still thought, I guess we're taking him here at 5-1. I thought by now he'd be kind of like firmly a mid 4th round pick in the same way we've started to see Dobbins move up. Maybe there's just still kind of a slight lag, but I don't know, as someone who's willing to optimize around the end of the season to begin with, to then start to get these positive reports that he should be up and running here relatively soon. Even if we say he's not full speed until week 5 or 6, like I still think he's a smash at this spot.
Yeah, 100% agree. And maybe it has to do with Tom Brady being away from the team. I do think there is a small amount of risk that Brady's just head isn't fully in it after the kind of re-retirement and aspect. And like, it's, gives you a little discomfort with Brady being away for 2 or 3 weeks in the preseason. But I don't know. And my initial thesis with regards to Chris Godwin was that he was going to keep dropping through the preseason because he wasn't going to be playing much, because you were going to have the other young guys around him have some stud news, great highlights, seeing the short videos in the preseason, and then they would start getting steamed. But because Chris Godwin actually was never on the preseason pop, started off pretty, camp far, earlier than we thought, he has at least not moved backwards.
Right. Yeah, that was my fear. And he was a guy that I was really grabbing a ton of early. And then I actually pumped the brakes because it was like, not because I was worried about it, but just like, I'm going to probably get a cheaper price come late August. But then we get that, holy cow, he's already back at practice, probably not going to miss as much time. And then I was like, all right, I'll still continue to scoop him up in the 5th round here.
Yeah. All right. Reading back on through some of these chats and stuff, we got, so some people are saying that, what I just saw, Peter was saying that Laird might have been a replace Kendrick Barner in special teams. We do know that Gio got banged up. Casey Brown probably got it too. Laird was just brought in for a fun hang.
Brady and Laird, it's going to be the new breakfast narrative. It's going to be our generation's Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, but it's going to be Laird and Brady figuring out how to save the world, think about sustainable energy, revamp our American political system. I mean, the things those two guys are going to do together is going to be incredible.
You think he can bring in Brady to the book club?
I think he could. Brady strikes me as an audiobooks guy. That's my only thing. I doubt Brady. He needs someone to read a book to him, I think, is the point of his career he's at.
On 3X.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's take a look at what this draft is kind of turning into. So for us, we love that, start off with that influencer 1.01. We have elite running back, elite tight end, elite QB, and Tyreek Hill and Chris Godwin. Our top of draft is fairly balanced, and I'd say well placed. What are you kind of thinking when you start with this? Like, do you have any idea on what this structure looks like? Is it just value hounding? What's the thought process at this point for you?
Yeah, so like you said, we're so balanced that we don't have to really focus on any specific position through these next few rounds, and so that can be nice. I start thinking about kind of maybe what kind of quarterback build I might want to do. So with Godwin, I definitely am pretty interested in Brady. I find him to be slightly mispriced right now, and especially when I get a Bucs pass catcher. So that's something crossing my mind. Obviously, we have the Tua backstop as well if we wanted to push it a little more. I think I'd probably in value hound territory. I definitely do more true anchor builds when I get McCaffrey, unless I get kind of an insane running back to value. So I generally like this 6-7 turn for some guys. Obviously, Amon-Ra, Drake London off the board here, but I don't know. We might have some exciting wide receiver options that I'm normally looking at in this spot.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at some of the other drafts, seeing if anybody's going kind of overload on one position that we need to react to. Danny Carr in the middle here has 4 RBs out through 6, which is a little bit heavy. We'll see how that plays out, whether he continues or kind of goes with that hyper fragile with those 4. Wall Street Jesus, strong name, has 5 wide receivers through 6 rounds of the QB. So there we might be, going for those. A lot of late round running backs. I wouldn't say we're pigeonholing ourselves. No, I do not want to enter autopilot mode. Thank you.
The 2 wide receivers I were thinking of are at the very top of your ranks there. I mean, Burks right now is kind of like the situation that I was discussing with Godwin, right? Where I still love Burks, but I'm worried that he's just going to continue to drop, and that I'm just like, if you could get him after pick 90, it's very hard to take it. I mean, I love these 2 receivers at the top of your ranks here in Moore and Tony, and I'm also down with Devonta Smith in this range as well.
Okay, cool. I think we're getting a little Elijah Moore value because of the Zach Wilson, but like 2 to 4 weeks for your QB doesn't scare me much. And all the reports out of training camp for Elijah Moore have been that he is the clear number 1. So I love that one. Kadarius Toney, it's interesting as well. The reports have been iffy. He's been suffering a little from was it a hamstring injury, a leg injury? So maybe that's why you're able to get a little more value on him. I guess technically we're actually reaching a little here. But agreed, I'd rather go with the wide receiver than any of these running backs.
Yeah, where are you at? I have been taking Devonta Smith ahead of Kadarius Toney. What are your thoughts on those two? Okay.
I'm good with it. So this build could have been a Lamar, Daniel Jones. I think from a QBs, those fit. And so when I'm grabbing Kadarius Toney, I'm happy saying, hey, I'm aiming for that being my second QB in this situation. So I think that would have worked. We didn't get Jalen Hurts. It's fine. I'm a little worried that there's two risks for the Devonta Smith that I think are pretty heavy. One is that the team is actually still very run heavy, like we saw the second half of last year. If that's the case, Devonta Smith is not going to have enough volume to really make value. The second is, if that's incorrect and they actually are pass heavy, AJ Brown might just be a target monster for them with the way that the rapport and what we're hearing out of training camp. And it's hard to, it's narrative street, but just going from what we're hearing, the connection that they've had, there is that additional kind of risk, I would say, where Devonta Smith probably doesn't have as much of a WR1 upside baked in.
Yeah. And my analysis with it is far less nuanced in that I just want to be stacking the second year breakout profiles, these guys who flashed efficiency in year one. I mean, that it's just a cohort that has traditionally smashed their ADP in a big way. And I feel the same way about Elijah Moore. Cost adjusted, Garrett Wilson is my preferred way to play that, just because they both have really exciting profiles. And the bet you're actually making is is Zach Wilson good enough to just, support a breakout? And same with Devonta Smith, where it's I think Devonta Smith just might be really good. And then on top of that, maybe they are more pass heavy. Maybe you get a Chase Higgins light thing with AJ Brown and Smith, or you have massive contingent value if AJ Brown gets hurt. And we know that has happened previously too. So when you have that profile and then you kind of give yourself multiple outs to them hitting, I do like stacking those. And then I also like it in that we did have two veteran wide receivers with our earlier picks in Hill and Godwin. So I definitely like mixing in some youth. I don't know if you ever think about that. I think about it a little bit with wide receivers, specifically if I'm targeting a ton of rookies and trying to make sure I'm balancing it out with some guys who I know are going to give me, surefire production early.
Yeah. So I wouldn't think of it so much as I don't think of it as much as veterans and young guys like a Chris Godwin. But when I think of the Chris Godwin, I think about who's going to be able to make an immediate impact week one and who's maybe a little delayed. And I think there's the Venn diagram between those two is pretty close to a concentric circle. But in that situation, when I'm drafting a Godwin, when I'm drafting a Hopkins, or as you said, if you draft a whole bunch of rookie wide receivers, maybe later on I will go with a bit more of the kind of AJ Green, Zay Jones, Cedric Wilson, the guys who I know are coming in for me and starting week one. It used to be James Washington. I was pretty high on James Washington because I thought hey, Jalen Tolbert's going to take some time to develop into that role. James Washington was a great high-powered offense, but slotting in.
How are you? One thing I've felt a lot lately, obviously, when I'm correlating with either my quarterbacks or a week 17 bring back, I can definitely find wide receivers late that I don't mind from a correlation standpoint. But I have a really hard time finding wide receivers who I think could actually kind of break out basically after round, 15 or something. Whereas I can scroll through the running backs and I can tell myself stories for all of these guys with either contingent value or breakout profiles or whatever. Have you been feeling that as far as mining non-correlated wide receivers late?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about the uniqueness aspect and where it's valuable to be unique. And initially, I think for the past year or so, when I thought about this, it was well, it's just to be unique. You just need to be unique because a wide receiver can still have a 2-touchdown game and be unique or whatever. But I agree with you that I think when I'm going for uniqueness, it's also uniqueness that can be a player that can be a game changer. And in that 18th round, there's so few, I'd say, wide receivers that can be a game changer versus the running backs then through an injury can really hit that peak. So what I've been doing is honestly, before week 15, 16, 17, you could definitely find the game changers. And I think you still kind of can with, I don't know, guys like an Alec Pierce. It used to be George Pickens, like these either rookies or sophomores that still have that wide range of outcomes, that some of them have gotten steam. Some of them may still be there. But in the week, in the round 18, yeah, it's rough. Like, I think there's very, very few wide receivers that actually have that game-changing outcome versus the running backs that you're talking about. Oh, there's a ton, from Rex Burkhead to Matt Breida to Samaje Perine to Chris Evans. Like, you can just keep naming off, and you can tell yourself a story for how this running back's going to be a, 25, 30-point game for when there's a, when he has that role.
For sure. Yeah, because that's the thing, is like even some of those wide receivers, and it's the whole reason why I like a lot of anchor RB and zero RB builds, because the production is so binary with some of those guys and the contingent value, where a lot of those wide receivers, like take a guy like Cedric Wilson, who I think is fine. Like if Tyreek Hill gets hurt, like, yeah, he's going to get a little bit more targets, but it's not going to be in a way where his production, doubles, triples, quadruples in the way a backup running back can. I was going to be very excited about Brady there. So glad that he falls to us. And what else are we looking at here?
All right. So from a wide receiver wise, we could take Claypool for the bring back for, Baltimore. Robert Woods, I'm a big fan of, just as a kind of with the Traylon Burks stuff that we're seeing. Or there's a lot of running backs at this place, at this, spot as well.
Yeah, I'm inclined to go the wide receiver route. Surprise, surprise. I find this tier at running back very flat, and I bet we can catch the end of this tier at the 10-11 turn. So I'd be down with Claypool and Woods. I don't draft Woods a lot. I've been drafting Garrett Wilson a ton in this range. I don't know if we want to double up our Jets bet, but yeah, Claypool, Wilson, or Woods is fine with me.
Let's go with the week 17 correlation. We do have the Baltimore stack, so I'm happy to get that just from week 17.
Especially with Pickens screaming up boards, where I'm guessing you and I are going to be less likely to really chase that steam right now. So it feels better to kind of lock in Claypool at that price than have to reach for that.
I mean, it's crazy. I was all over Pickens early on. I love the range of outcomes, loved him as a prospect. And the reason he fell because it was the injuries. And, I think there was also the narrative, this is before Deontay signed, Deontay came back, but there was risk about like, hey, what role is Deontay going to actually have? Will they have him after this year? But yeah, when I was getting, overweight him at 173 versus him at 130 right now, that's hard to chase for these.
How do you think about, this is a spot I found myself in at tight end, and I'm guessing a lot of drafters feel this. So you get, I definitely love prioritizing the elite QB. So I end up with, or tight end. So I end up with a lot of Andrews, Pitts, Waller, Kittle. And then because I've been reluctant to do 3 tight end builds, I often will get funneled to this same kind of range, from like round 11 to 16, basically to like the Higbee Everett tier. And I grab one of them to pair with Andrews, yada, yada, call it a day. Like, I think it's a fine use of draft capital, but I've been thinking more about like maybe mixing in some tight end 3 builds with Andrews, like 2 super late guys. Like say we toss in a Dulcich and a Cade Otton with our Brady thing. Like, I'm just curious, when you grab that elite quarterback, how are you thinking about tight end? Because I just find that tier from like round 11 to 16 to be virtually the same thing.
I'm almost always ending up with Noah Fant, Tyler Higbee, maybe Gerald Everett. Not as much in Njoku, but honestly, like, here, let's go look at my exposures. Fant and Higbee is,
You're talking about the end of that tier, and I like a lot of those guys better than the guys going ahead of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, and Leone's mentioned this multiple times, but like, it is tiny, small, like giving a 1% or a 0.5% target share more, having that team be a little more pass heavy. And the difference between Tyler Higbee and all the way up to probably Irv Smith, Zach Ertz, like it can flip like that. And so give me that late value. At this point in the draft at 173, the wide receivers at this point in the year are ugly. And there's no difference in running backs between who's drafted at 173 and who's drafted 220. I'd rather wait, 216 is the last one, but I'd rather wait and grab someone who's not being drafted at all. And so that's where I hear you. For DraftKings, I'm probably more okay with taking like your strategy, what you're saying, because you've got 20 spots. So taking that 19th and 20th and grabbing 2 unique tight ends. Yeah.
Because the thing I think about, and I talk about this a lot too, of like when you do certain structures, you often get funneled to the same pockets of players. And because I think about where I've invested capital as a sliding scale, the earlier I take tight end, the later I can do it. So if I'm taking Mark Andrews early, I often am getting those same guys you are, Higbee, Fant, Everett. Like that pocket feels so right. But then it's like saying, I don't want to have my entire portfolio of Andrews teams determined by those same 3 tight ends. And so that's kind of, and I think about it with zero RB too, whereas like last year I had so many ETN and Javonte Williams teams because that's where that structure funneled me. And it's like, I want the structure to be my edge there, not that those 2 to 3 players within that range where you finally, take your back.
Right. And then for me, I think it comes down to stacks. So if I think I'm going for a Mac Jones or value, so you have someone dropping as a value hound. So like I got 3 picks here. I was way ahead on Tunyon. So that one's a little ugly. Cole Kmet, I'm not drafting unless I'm extremely behind. So I think that's where trying to mix in and be willing to say, hey, this isn't my guy, but I'm getting value on him, or I'm maybe going to get this, backdoor stack to get off those core guys. But no, I think you're asking the right question. You're thinking about the right way.
So this is definitely, I feel like this is going to break right for us to where I find this wide receiver tier a little uninspiring. Yeah, I definitely don't mind getting the double with Brady. And I will say, like, I was initially thinking the market was not going to drop Russell Gage enough. And I actually feel like the market has done a pretty good job getting him back to a reasonable price.
This one, no. Holy crap. Like Julio Jones being drafted. All right. Cab the cow takes Gordon. Really wanted Melvin Gordon there.
And I love these running back options here, Spiller and Hendo. I think either of them, obviously. Do we have any?
Do we want to go Russell Gage first?
I'm down for Gage.
Yeah, I'm good with that. It makes sense with the bill. It makes sense with structure. We're not going crazy heavy on Tampa. And Rashad White is not available either.
He must be gone.
Well, okay. That's why with the new underdog structure, make sure you get your cues in when you're on the turn, because we just went quick auto draft. But I think we were going Henderson anyways.
Yeah. And I think, if Gage wasn't on the board, I would have been pretty stoked on both Henderson and Spiller there. But yeah, I mean, the Gage stuff, he's not my favorite player. I think his ADP adjusts and he slides past ADP here. There's not really another slam dunk double stack option for Brady. I don't find those tight ends that interesting. And then on top of that, we still get to kind of play the contingent value here with if Evans gets hurt, if anything, if Julio gets hurt, which all those things could happen. If Godwin is slow to recover, we should be getting some nice production from him at that price.
Yep, I agree. And I mean, you can see for here, this is where I've definitely been pounding running backs in that area. I will say, I forgot what I was probably going to say, but about the Isaiah Spiller, is he that much of a clear above the others for you? You can see I've been a little lower on him. I think it's probably because we've seen Madison have that workhorse before. Doesn't mean he will. New coaching staff. Kenneth Gainwell has the opportunity for the high leverage touches. I don't know. I can just talk myself a little more into these. Isaiah Spiller, I can't see him ever obviously taking the Eckler role.
No.
And I don't know. Spiller, I just don't have that path in my mind of how he gets there as much as the others.
To me, Spiller is a pure contingent play, and I think if Eckler goes down, I think he would be pretty damn close to a league winner. And I find him just even slightly more interesting than Madison from that standpoint as well, just because I do think he could maybe carve out a little bit more of a role, just because the Chargers have shown a willingness to use a couple backs and the guys that they brought through there. I know that Joshua Kelly was running behind Eckler, but it feels like we've already seen the Josh Kelly stuff. Justin Jackson's out of town. We've seen them cycle through these guys. So just that there is a little mystery box with Spiller maybe being better than those guys, which his prospect profile would indicate. But yeah, to me, I think about it too, in CMC builds, he is the anchor of all anchors. and I'm willing to kind of take bigger cuts. Whereas in some of my 0 RB builds, I might lean toward the Hines, the Carter, the Gainwell, knowing they're going to give me a floor of production with their pass catching while also still having some nice contingent value. So I don't mind swinging for the fences with Spiller in this build.
That's interesting. So I've been going back and forth with guests on this because I think what you said is the general consensus and like how people are naturally drafting. And I don't know if I'm contrarian and wrong, or I'm just contrarian to be contrarian. But what I've been doing is if I have a 4 RB build, that's when I'm more likely to include the Darrell Henderson, the Kenneth Gainwell. Because in my 4 RB builds, I likely have 2, maybe even 3 like studs at the top. And now for that 4th running back, I'm just looking for, give me that weekly floor average just in case. When I'm going 0 RB, that's when I want to go Madison. That's when I want to go the guys that have substantial upside where I don't have anyone else out of that 6, 7 running backs that I'm expecting to have RB1 plays. So when I'm right on Madison, it's far more valuable in a 0 RB build than if I'm right on Madison in a 4 RB build where I have my elite guys. Well, he's not actually providing me that much more value over my elite guys.
Yeah, I think about it completely differently because when I have those 3 studs, I just assume that the Gainwell Hines is not going to sniff my roster ever because I just don't feel like they have access to a 25+ point ceiling, whereas Madison with Cook down does. And that's why I'm saying, like, if my 4th running back is going to ever sniff my starting lineup when we're drafting to be right, I just would rather swing for the fences in that. Whereas I will agree with you, though, on my 0 RB builds, I want a mix of those guys. I need a few home run hitters. Like last year, it ended up being James Conner. Like, you need that guy that is putting up the big weeks, but I sometimes need that floor production to help just keep me in the mix until the chaos and the volatility of the season kicks in.
Yeah, so I think we're in complete agreement on the 0 RB. We'll touch on the 4 in a bit. Michael Carter, I love. Kenneth Gainwell.
To me, after these 2 running backs, these 2 specific running backs, and sometimes Herbert goes after these guys. I think he's already off the board here, but I think there's a massive tier gap after Carter, Gainwell, and Herbert go.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm okay if people want to talk themselves into James Robinson above these others because we've seen it before. No, stop it. Well, that's why we queue them up again.
This is, see, on streams, I'm anti-Q for multiple reasons. 1, I don't like to shine it on a billboard, my intentions. Yep. And 2, the auto draft stuff, unless I'm putting Tim Patrick in the queue and stress testing the Underdog software. But yeah, I'm anti-Q.
Well, we got the 2 guys we wanted. And yeah, I was just going to mention that, like, okay, if you want to talk yourself into James Robinson, I get that one. Not for me. I only have 2% on him. My 2% is at 193 or whatever. But yeah, I love Kenneth Gainwell, Michael Carter. Was expecting Carter to fall. Kenneth Gainwell has been getting steamed lately. Yeah. And I completely understand why.
Oh, I completely get it too. I think this draft has felt very clean to me in that, well, 1, we set ourselves up with a balanced build where we weren't having to really force anything, but it also has felt like the pockets of the draft have fallen to us in the right spots. Even where I was like, oh, maybe the Gage thing, maybe we get shut out. Like, there are rooms where Carter and Gainwell go off the board. We're looking to get, our 3rd and 4th running back here, and it doesn't feel as nice where, man, I feel like we just caught the end of those tiers really nicely.
Yeah, that worked out really well. And I mean, there's one simple reason. Look at this.
No badges.
Not a single badge.
I'm telling you, these, I'm already looking forward to the pizza party. Hopefully you allow me to choose the toppings thanks to my contributions on this draft.
You can have your entire pizza as long as it's potato toppings.
Oh yeah, that is the only thing. I think Potato Pete should at least be able to get a side of French fries at his pizza party.
I like it. Yeah. If that actually happened, God, because we'd be doing it we already decided we're going to do it at the Waste Management Open. Same weekend as the Super Bowl in Arizona would just be the biggest party. It would be an absolute blast. So hope that happens. Any form of $1 million would work. Okay. We have our 2 QBs. We're on that Andrews territory that we talked about. Our next picks are 168, 169. We said Fant was like 172. Higbee's like mid 160s, 168. So it seems like these guys have a chance to fall to us. I'd be happy with Henry, Tunyon, Everett, and Njoku. Really, any of them is our second.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm to say again, I think it's going to fall in a nice area of the draft. I think to me, the most interesting question with this build is this a 4 or 5 running back build? Because I think you could make a case for either direction because we were able to tick the end of that tier with our 3-4.
I would say we're only going to have 2 QBs and 2 tight ends. And
Yep.
because of that, we don't need like what? That'd be 10 wide receiver build. And
you're right.
We
probably
have pretty
5'9".
good wide receivers. Yeah, that's what I'm leaning towards this. I'd probably say it's a 2-5-8-2 with that last pick. What we decide whether it's a, hey, this actually works from a wide receiver, or hey, there's that uniqueness from the running back.
This might be a fun build to almost kind of super stack Lamar with 2 of those late wide receivers. There might be could be. Do you have a dog in the Proche Duvernay Tyquan Wallace battle?
So I have not been Tyquan Wallace, even though some of the ETR guys like him. Duvernay seems like the best play to actually get that time and is the number 2, but we just haven't seen it out of him, and I don't expect it. Proche has flashed during preseason, and then whenever he flashes, I go back and look at what he's done in the league, and it's literally just nothing. And it's just so rare for a player to kind of have virtually nothing for what I think, is it a sophomore, maybe junior year? He's been in the league for at least a year, maybe even 2. And for that, just have that kind of breakout, I'm not expecting it in that Baltimore offense. So for the most part, even when I have Lamar, I kind of just faded as long as I grabbed Andrews, but Duvernay would be the one. Yeah. Here's the interesting. I drafted Likely yesterday, just as a contingent play. But I wouldn't do that with Andrews, but I think it's in
that. Right. Exactly. Yeah. With Andrews and even let's just say we had Kelsey there too. Even then, I feel like you get in that weird spot where you don't want to do a 3 tight end build with Kelsey. I guess you could do Kelsey and Likely if you wanted, but even that, it's just when Noah Fant and Higbee and Njoku are this cheap, it's really hard for me to, because what's the opportunity cost? If you could convince me there was an opportunity cost, passing on whoever we're going to take and then sitting on, be careful.
Okay, we're good. We're good. We got to make this
Fant or Higbee. I like both of those guys a lot. I mean, we get our Fant, Elijah Moore week 17, or we could get it with Higbee and Spiller. So,
and we have Darrell Henderson. Wait, we don't have Spiller. We went Henderson.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, let's go Fant then.
Okay, and I'm going to make sure I make this pick.
We had talked so much about Spiller that I forgot we didn't take him.
Okay, and let's see. Running backs. I do not see anything here. Definitely not Rojo. Van Jefferson, we have the LAR. We're kind of making a bet there.
Yeah, Corey Davis or Van Jefferson would be fine for me.
I have 1% Van Jefferson.
Go for it. Ballot your exposure.
Yeah, a little bit of that. I don't know. What do we think of Van Jefferson? Obviously he's been dropping because of the injury aspects, and then Stafford's potential injury hasn't helped at all.
I think when he's healthy, I think he's locked in to those 3 wide receiver sets. I'm just not really concerned about Tutu Atwell or Skowronek. So I do feel like he has that kind of on lockdown. I guess you just have more and more risk with him being banged up, the elbow stuff, if Allen Robinson, is able to carve out, a really big role in a way that they're more concentrated, that could hurt him. But with him, you're just playing for some of those, getting loose deep, couple of those spike weeks where he sneaks into your lineup. So yeah, he's not my favorite guy to draft, but he did seem, where was he? I guess he's been sliding in drafts. I was going to say that felt a little cheap for him relative to at least where he was, a month ago.
Let's see. So his ADP is 173. We got him at 170. This pick, my ADP on him is 170 as well. It's 169. Nice number.
Yeah.
So we're right there.
Yep.
And he definitely fits the underdog scoring for the type of player as well. I think for me, the risk with him is if they do bring back Odell Beckham, then for the week, the playoff weeks where it's most valuable, does Van Jefferson kind of just disappear? We saw a little of that.
Yeah. Odell would kill the Van Jefferson stuff.
Right. But I still think like, hey, this late in the drafts, he can still provide you some weekly value that helps you advance. And then you still have enough other kind of legitimate wide receivers.
Yeah.
So we got 3 picks left. With our 3, we have our 2 QBs. We have our 2 tight ends. There's no argument to be grabbing a third at either of these positions. Agreed?
Agreed.
All right. So that leaves us, as we said, definitely grab at least 1 wide receiver. Definitely grab at least 1 more running back, 1 more wide receiver, and then play it from there.
Yeah. And I definitely think one of the wide receivers should be a Baltimore pass catcher. And then I feel like it could be kind of choose your own adventure for the running back and other wide receiver.
All right. Let's say chat. Duvernay, Proche. What are you all thinking? Who should we be targeting? Who should we grab for this?
Is Will Fuller still on the board? I would accept Will Fuller write-in votes. He's probably gone.
I feel like that's even high for him to go. Do we want to look at my exposure there? This is going to be ugly. Wait, it's not. It's got to be Williams.
Yeah.
All right, 16% at 174. Not great. Not great.
Yeah, the closing line value on Fuller ain't going to be great.
Well, if we're saying closing line, if he signs before the season,
that's true. It could switch.
But if he doesn't, then yeah, those are looking stone cold. That we're not taking a loss on that until week 17 because hey, if he comes and he plays and then its advance rate is lower and the teams you have him actually make him more unique, maybe he's the guy you need in week 17.
That's right. Let's look at the running backs who we would maybe. This is where I always feel like there's a million options for guys you can take. I've been hammering Eno right now. I think he's mispriced by a few rounds. McKinnon's still interesting.
What are thoughts on Edwards with Baltimore?
Yeah, I mean, this is a build where we can probably sit on it. This is, he goes, yeah.
But go on. Hypothetically, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I worry about his in the same way of like some of the pass catching guys, but in the inverse where, I think he's only going to have like an early down role. And I wonder how much that would change even in the event of an injury to Dobbins. I think you would see a lot of either Beatty or Justice Hill in that scenario. So I might swing a little higher. I do like Paris Campbell there.
I agree with you. I think the play is grab 2 wide receivers now, grab a running back at the end where we know we're going to be able to get a unique one that we still like.
Yeah, I'm good with Campbell and Duvernay here.
Okay, so I think that makes sense. You can see here.
I was I was starting to come around on the pro stuff, and then I was reading that a lot of it had to do with Duvernay being banged up early. But I still don't have any conviction to the point I've been kind of mixing and matching. And in some of my drafts where I do get a naked Lamar, I'll grab both of them at the end.
Makes sense. Yeah, this is what I was saying. Like, also him getting hurt, missing 1 or 2 weeks is not great for him trying to win a larger role. But yeah, 2020, literally 3 targets. 2021, 20 targets. This isn't like a rookie that came in. Like, he's been around for a little. We'll grab Duvernay. Okay. We are on full unique running back situation. Also, I need to just show this. Look at that. How pretty is this?
Get out of here.
0%.
This is where you start packing your bags.
You're not wrong, but I don't think I'm going to do it.
Jacob asking, how do I get those on-screen exposure analytics? That's the Brick Draft Caddy. You can get it at brick75.com. I have it on my streams. I use it. It's very helpful. All kinds of different kind of things that you can customize in here. Justin has his average ADP where you've selected these guys, which helps when we're talking about closing line value. And you can have your personal exposures. You can get week 17 matchups, basically anything you want. And then there's a bunch of kind of a la carte, download options as well.
So I just changed target exposures. This is you and Pat Carrain and probably Davis all dragging that up. This is the average exposures between those 3 guys and myself as well.
Well, thank you for being the one to drag it back down to reality.
Oh, I can't imagine how high it is for all you without my 0%.
I'm at like 14 or 15%, I think.
There you go. All right. Fun. And yeah, it's Brick with no K, BRIC 75. Okay. With running backs, I think most important for me in these situations are to grab ones that are not being drafted by other people. Early on, that was Eno Benjamin. And now that he's like, I'd say in the first third of drafts, he was probably getting drafted around 10% of the time. So I really like that. Second third and third of drafts, he's now going to be drafted in almost all of them. So we lose that uniqueness. But there's lots of other guys that are still really good values.
Let's see here. What I still have P. Ryan, I think, is pretty interesting to me with reports he's been ahead of Evans. I like both of those guys, but Evans was definitely the trendier, more drafted player for a large stretch of July.
And P. Ryan hasn't gotten steamed since the news that he's probably the backup.
Yeah.
Let's look. And so, yeah, it's interesting where I've done a little Keyshawn Vaughn too. That's actually not the worst with our Tampa Bay and no grabbing any of the running backs. We can consider that.
Yep.
Sony's not looking great. Moster and Edmonds look pretty good there. I actually think grabbing decent. Yeah.
The thing that's tough with me with Vaughn is I think you need basically 2 injuries, right? Because he doesn't have the talent to climb the depth chart, and you're going to need. I guess you could have Fournette injury and Rachaad White bust. Like that's right. Your path. But I mean, with P. Ryan, like if Mixon gets hurt, I mean, he's getting minimum 12 touches a game. Breida, if Barkley gets hurt, I think he's locked into 12 plus touches a game. So some of these guys feel like cleaner contingent plays to me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. For me, the Vaughn would only be because we have the Brady, we have the Carolina game. But again, Vaughn's also not a pass catcher. So in one game sample size, do Brady and Vaughn actually correlate that well? Maybe not.
What about this? We don't have a Panther. I was drafting a lot of Foreman early. I've been wanting to get a little more Chuba.
We have Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, duh. God, I'm completely
but you know me. I love handcuffing.
Yeah. It might actually be a way to get unique on the field. I completely blanked. We had drafted. No, get out of here. I'm not letting a handcuff on my pizza party happen.
All right. Just want to make a note. So are we going for upside or points? Rex Burkhead out of this group is most likely to give you actually weekly points. But I think we want the upside. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I think these guys are providing us enough weekly because all of them are that style that they're still going to get weekly play.
Yep.
This is for you, Josh Norris.
Is he on P. Ryan?
No, he's on Chris Evans. And anytime Chris Evans does something such as Chris Evans ripped off a 70-yard run that was held back by a flag in the game last weekend. And so immediately he tagged me in it. But literally in the score sheet, it just showed a flag.
I mean, let's be honest. Chris Evans is a way more fun selection for sure. But to your point with kind of the uniqueness angle too, I mean, he was getting drafted in basically every draft. And I do think that it's just less likely that he would see, 10 plus touches, even in the event of an injury.
Exactly. And my whole argument with him was like, hey, even if Chris Evans is like 60-40 to be the backup and like is the more explosive player, I'm talking like Josh, like literally because you're touting him, he's been drafted in 90+% of drafts. Maybe it drops a little now, while P. Ryan's probably being drafted in less than 10, maybe even less than 5. And so just that individual uniqueness for a high-powered Cincy offense, if Joe Mixon is not actually playing in the playoffs, like P. Ryan could be a 2-3 touchdown guy, and that's the guy you need for week 17.
He could be the guy you need. This was a clean draft. We weren't really put in too many tough spots.
Talk me through.
Yeah. So the quarterbacks, the Lamar decision was pretty easy at the 4-5 turn to stack with Andrews. I didn't think that took a lot of thought. I love getting the elite QB and then you get the full green light with the stack, and there just isn't a ton of opportunity cost there. I mean, yeah, I like guys like Juju and Bateman, but that seemed clean. And then Brady, not only falling 10 picks after ADP, but then to get our stack with Godwin. So we have kind of our 2 premium double stacks there. Seems really nice. Obviously, CMC teams always look great. I think we hit the kind of 0 RB secondary range just about perfectly. Henderson, Carter, Gainwell. I mean, Carter, Gainwell coming there at those picks just seems super nice. Specifically Gainwell. Like Carter does kick around a little later. Like you said, Gainwell had been getting steamed to the point where I'm kind of shocked that no one in this room had an appetite for him. Basically, everyone in the room had a chance to grab him after ADP, and they didn't do that. So, and then P. Ryan, I think the perfect kind of handcuff contingent play to tack on as the last running back in this build. And then our wide receivers feel pretty good about this room. Hill, Godwin, and then more Devonta Smith as our second-year breakout guys. Claypool as a nice boom bust pick there. Russell Gage getting a nice value on a double stack. And I do think with Brady, you do want to be in double stacks with him just because he's not going to rush a lot. Van Jefferson boosting Justin's exposure. That's the only reason. Paris Campbell running ahead of Alec Pierce in 2 wide receiver sets, and also just had a really unique profile coming into the league and has flashed, has just not been healthy. And, Frank Reich already on record saying they want to lighten Taylor's load. They want to throw more. Paris Campbell could be a part of that. Devin Duvernay to give us a double stack with Lamar. We talked out Proche versus Duvernay. Happy to go Duvernay there. And then Noah Fant, who's definitely mispriced by, 10, 15, 20 picks. I think the perfect kind of high upside tight end complement to Mark Andrews.
I like it. I think you nailed it. I think you drilled through. Overall, I feel pretty good about this draft. For the Baltimore, we got the 2-3-man stack with the one bring back. Brady, we got the Godwin, Gage, and the Christian McCaffrey bring back. Like, for the most part, we got some of the best players in those games as well, which I like from the stack. It doesn't feel like we were reaching just to get like a cheap part of it, but like Lamar, Andrews, and Claypool, Brady, Godwin, McCaffrey, and Gage. So overall, I think I actually really like this team. I think we did well. Well done, Pete.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's just, we come on here and it's just like a stroll through Central Park with a nice breeze, and mine, I'm in a torrential downpour, battling people attacking me, jumping out of the bushes. So it's nice to know over on the ETR airwaves, it's just smooth sailing.
Here we just get trolled. We're just talking out of our butts, but it's okay. We got chat coming in to defend us. Pretty good team for talking out of our butts. It's good.
I mean, to be fair, I stream like 25 hours a day. Like at least half of it is going to be talking out of my butt. So it's probably fair.
I mean, yeah, it's just energy. Better conservative energy there. Okay. This has been fun. You got a few minutes to talk some Owners Club?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm getting excited.
All right. Let's talk about, so it was pretty actually fun. Last year when you were sweating your Best Ball Mania 2, you were down in Miami. We were at the live final at the Miami Heat Arena, FTX Arena. I was sweating the DraftKings Millie. You were sweating the Underdog one. Would love to hear kind of your thoughts, how the season went for Owners Club, and then I'll pull up. We can do a Best Ball pack rip as well. Yeah,
for sure. I played weekly last year in the Owners Club. It's kind of like the perfect, I don't know, basically middles kind of like DFS and best ball, but like in season. And then obviously you guys are going to have the best ball product for the full season as well. So it's when is this going to be available to everyone? I mean, best ball season, it's coming to an end here, man.
I know we're going soon. We're coming soon. It's right now it's just kind of the wallet integration because everything on the back end is going to be a lot easier this year. You don't have to worry about like a MetaMask wallet or any of that stuff. It's all just kind of far easier experience. But all I can say is very, very soon. We had a chance to rip open some of these at the FF Expo this weekend and had a blast. But pick a number. And we'll rip one of these open. How
about 420? I mean, that sounds hella chill. Danky dank. Let's do it.
All right.
Ooh, this is my first preview at this pack opening experience.
Alrighty. So we start off. First 2 hours going to be quarterbacks.
Oh, let's go.
We got some running backs.
Florida theme here.
Okay. We got some strength. I mean, that's going to be Aaron Jones and
give us that stack.
AJ Dillon.
Denver wide receiver, a great one. New England tight end, a great one.
This is strong. And we'll do a reveal off the other ones. Got the quick running back. That was a great card last year. Kansas City tight end. This is 420 was a strong card. Okay.
This is all right. Let's get our second Tom Brady, Tampa Bay double stack of the day. I mean, I think we definitely have to play the Denver stuff.
Okay. Kind of get a stack without the QB aspect.
Hard to pass on KC tight end.
And then I think Indy RB and Cleveland RB and Green Bay RB. That's 4 RBs, but
yeah.
It's super flex style, so you can count your top scorer in each position and then one additional. So you could play 2 running backs, and we do know in this format running backs score a lot because you're getting the entire backfield.
It is super flex, so we probably want to toss in Miami QB, right?
Yeah, but remember QBs, running backs, wide receivers all score about the same.
That's true. We don't have
we should
have
still
a clean
have 2
stack
QBs for the bye week.
And then what do you think? Have you just one defense?
I think you honestly go 2 because, I mean, taking a 0 for a week is rough, but one defense, I don't know. That's one of the strategies people are going to have to think through.
Yeah.
Because defense definitely scores the least.
Kind of like KC defense, just a lot of time when they get in big leads, forcing teams to play catch up.
Okay. Let's throw one more tight end. Maybe the combo between Jonnu.
I think New England tight end is pretty strong.
Okay. And then let's grab one more defense. I like Miami. Miami was strong last year.
I like that. I don't really see anything that we left on the scrap heap. I mean, I like Hawkinson, but in this, this is half point PPR again, right? Or standard.
0, right, standard, because you're getting the entire position groups. And so to level it out, so wide receivers, running backs, QBs all score about that same. That's how that scoring is. Yeah. I think that makes sense too, because like with Hawkinson, he's going to be more on the PPR side. Freiermuth is kind of interesting, but hard to see the high end stuff where it does really seem like Jonnu's having a good camp. The Jonnu and Henry pairing is pretty nice. We're seeing people going Philly D. If you were to go Philly D, would you replace it with Kansas? Maybe instead of Kansas City, instead of Miami? Or just say forget chat.
Yeah, I guess I don't have my hand in the dirt enough on Miami DST versus Philly DST to feel super strongly.
All right, I'm trusting you, chat. We'll go Philly.
All right, chat. If you guys will get you fountain soda from the pizza party if this Philly DST is the defense you need.
I like that. So last step is we do mint it, and which favorite part about this is if you end up getting off to a hot start, or for whatever reason you decide, hey, I want to sell this, you can actually buy and sell these on the marketplace. So let's say first week, Bucks go for 45, you get QB wide receiver, ton of points, and you're in first place. You can either say, hey, I'm going to sell this for $500, $1,000, whatever you want, or you can, wait it out and try to win that grand prize at the end. So I'm excited. These are going to be fun. They're going to be popping up like crazy.
Awesome. Yeah, that it's super fun. Yeah. And for people who don't know, you can get it both ways. You get the best ball pack opening experience with this, and then with the Owners Club too, in season, similar style game and scoring, but you're setting kind of a weekly lineup at the different positions. And I had a lot of fun with Guster Boy himself, Mike Zakarian, talking through strategy for that last year. So definitely looking forward to the Owners Club and in best ball this year.
Favorite story from the live final when we're sweating. I think for me, it was probably a Rashad Penny huge touchdown run, and Overzet and I just kind of, because we both different teams that both had Penny, just get a big chest bump. I think he knocked me over on the floor.
I do remember that chest bump. I did. Yeah, we were having such a fun time at the party, and then I had the tilt space on the ETR channel, and so I was trying to get back to the hotel room because you were trying to help me get internet there. My devices were dying. I'm trying to get an Uber as my phone is dying. I'm thinking I'm just gonna have to sprint across the street of Miami. So it was a very hectic night. But man, I haven't had too many like super clean, pure sweats like that. And to have that sweat was a very fun time.
That was good. Yeah, Lunchable Connoisseur saying he was second in one last week, a half a point from the live final. That's so tough, but always next year. And I was sitting with $1 million on my screen for the first time, and lasted until those late games. But still great weekend, great time. And Michael asking, so it's called the Owners Club. Give it a Google. I think you'll find it. But we'll have more information in the next couple weeks as these best ball packs, they're $10 per pack, will go live. Most fun you can have in 90 seconds of fantasy football. Okay. This has been a lot. Pete, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're about to head over to Club Top Shot. You got a special matinee version, but rest of the next couple weeks until the season starts. You got fantasy life. You got everything going on. Tell the people where they can find you. What should they be looking for?
Yeah. You mentioned Fantasy Life. I write that newsletter with a bunch of great contributors. We're 5 days a week right now, completely free newsletter. I was, brainwashing the masses about best ball game theory this summer. They let me write about week 17 correlation, about how to get unique, about zero RB. So yes, it was fun to write, about best ball from, I think, a higher level perspective for such a big audience. And so I do think you guys would enjoy that if you haven't subscribed. And yeah, I actually want to ramp up. I do my best ball breakfast streams on my channels on Mondays. My only dicey thing is I'm moving right now. And so I'm just like trying to figure out how much time I have to take on, but want to get you on, get Eric on, and see if we can recapture the magic of our team last year. So keep an eye on that. And then ship chasing, if you guys are interested in more season long drafts, we're about to rip off a ton of FFPC main event drafts over the coming weeks. So yeah, I mean, we're in full draft season, and just looking to soak it up here for this next month.
I love it. Yeah, you guys are full grinders, especially this FFPC. For me, I live the best ball life when the season starts. No waivers, none of that. But you guys grind it, so full respect there. Absolutely love it. And the week 17 is funny. At the FF Expo, I was on a best ball panel, and we did a live draft in the room, but we did like one of the $5 ones. And there was no week 17 correlation. It was just a cash one. It was so weird to have to turn that brain switch to be like, that week 17 literally means nothing.
It's so, that I know that's the thing too. Like even, it's so funny though, because even when I do the randomizer streams, I notice the people in the draft are still correlating as if it's a monster tournament. Our brains are broken.
Love it. Well, Pete, thank you for joining me. Chat, you were all fantastic. I will see you all again on Tuesday. Until then, go check out Pete's YouTube, Twitter, give him the follow, give him all the love. We will see you all on Thursday.